Three people were stopped at the security check of an international airport. They were suspected of smuggling different stuff out of the country. The first man was heading for a beach resort. In his suitcase, there were a lot of things needed at the seaside: an umbrella, a pair of sunglasses, sunscreen, and a beach towel. The second man had a cage with 3 colorful birds and a pet carrier with a family of hamsters. He had all the necessary papers. The third man was traveling for business. In his bag, he had a suit, some documents, a toothbrush and toothpaste, and a bottle of expensive shampoo. Who's the smuggler? It's the third guy. He's bald. Why would he need shampoo? Young fashion designer Robert was preparing for his first show. He was excited and a bit anxious, so he took a break to steady his nerves in a quiet corner. But when it was time for him to present his collection, he was nowhere to be found. In an hour or so, a security guard saw him in the bathroom, lying on the floor. Someone had hit him on the head. The police had 3 suspects. Maya, one of the models, said she had had problems with her dress. "I didn't even have time to leave the dressing room." Catherine, one of the guests, answered she was Robert's huge fan. "I've been wearing his clothes for years. Why would I hit him?" Sam, the designer's assistant, said he had rushed to the nearest coffee shop to get Robert an Americano to calm him down. Can you figure out the culprit? It was Catherine. That day, it was Robert's first show. Then how could she be wearing his clothes for years? Ethan and his girlfriend Anne went to explore a cave and got lost. After some time, they came across 2 people, a man and a woman. The man, bearded and rough-looking, had a shovel in his hands. "I've been stuck here for a week. I know how to get to the surface, but I need your help. Come with me." The young woman exclaimed, "Don't trust him. He's a criminal. Follow me. I've been here longer than him. I know where the exit is." Who should the guys believe? Ethan and Anne decided to follow the man. If the girl had been in the cave for more than a week, why does she look so tidy and has fresh flowers in her hair? Mickey wakes up locked in a basement. The guy has no idea how he got there, probably through a hatch in the ceiling. There are also 3 doors leading out of the room. Behind the first one, there's a deep pit with metal spikes at the bottom. The second door leads to a lake with hungry piranhas. And behind the third door, there are crocodiles. Suddenly, the room starts to fill with water. Which door should Mickey choose to escape? He should pick the first door. Once the pit is filled with water, the guy will be able to swim over the spikes. Adam's car has gotten broken right in the middle of a deserted forest road. But the worst thing? It's winter, snowdrifts are huge, and the wind is freezing cold. Adam has to get to the nearest town, and fast. But if he follows the first path, he'll have to deal with hungry wolves. The second goes through the area inhabited by bears. And if he takes the second road, he'll have to cross a river covered with thin ice. Which is the safest way? Adam should sneak through the bears' territory. These animals sleep in the winter. You find yourself in a photo gallery. After looking at the wall, you realize that one of the pictures doesn't belong to the rest. You see a raccoon, a llama, a football, and a balloon. Can you tell which is the odd one out? It's the llama picture. The other 3 objects have 2 double letters in their names, but the llama only has 1 double. There's a barrel of water in the yard. You look inside and say that it's more than half full, but your friend argues that it's less than half full. How to figure out who's right without using any measuring tools or removing water from the barrel. Tilt the barrel so that the water touches the rim. If you can see the bottom, the barrel's less than half full. If the bottom is still covered with water, it's more. Sam and his brother John were always fighting. Their mother couldn't take it anymore and came up with a clever plan to stop them. She told the boys to stand on the same piece of paper in such a way that they didn't touch each other, and it worked. The boys couldn't fight anymore. How did she do it? The woman slipped the paper under a closed door and made Sam stand on one side and John on the other. There is a bridge that is 1 mile long. It can hold only 5,000 pounds at one time. That's exactly the weight of the truck that's crossing it. The truck reaches the middle of the bridge and stops. Suddenly, a bird lands on the truck. Is the bridge going to collapse? The bridge isn't going to break down because the truck has already used some gas to get to the middle and therefore weighs less than 5,000 pounds. A young woman is sitting near the window. At first, she's deep in thought. Then, she suddenly decides to throw something out of the window. A couple minutes later, she drops on the floor unconscious. She's perfectly healthy and isn't prone to sudden faints. There was no one outside to have hit her either. So, what happened? She was knocked out by the very same thing she'd thrown out the window. It was a boomerang that came back and hit her on the head. Well, that was a dumb thing to do. Two men are in a room facing each other. One of the men is a psychic and can see into the future. He predicts that in 10 minutes, the other man will be hit on the back of his head. Of course, shocked and paranoid, the other man can't stop staring at the clock on the wall. And exactly 10 minutes later, he's lying face down on the floor. How could it happen? After 10 minutes, the man turned around to see if there was anyone behind him. At exactly that moment, the psychic hit him on the back of his skull. Well, I'm starting to think he wasn't a psychic after all. You walk up to the edge of a forest when suddenly you see a man in swimming trunks, goggles, and a snorkel going out of the thicket and falling on the ground as if exhausted. But you know the nearest body of water is several miles away. How did the weird man end up in the forest? There was a huge forest fire, and the plane that was extinguishing it had to scoop up water from the lake several miles away. Doing it, it accidentally captured the man snorkeling in the lake. He was dropped down together with the water and miraculously survived. Upon receiving an anonymous tip, the police rushed to a house where a suspect was said to be. They have no physical description, but they do know his name is John. When the cops reach the place, they see 4 people sitting at a table: a carpenter, a firefighter, a truck driver, and a mechanic, none of which have name tags on their uniforms. Without a moment's hesitation, they arrest the firefighter. So, how did they know that's their guy? The firefighter was the only man in the room. All the others at the table were women and couldn't be named John. A man and his wife are driving down a highway when they run out of gas. So the husband decides to walk to the nearest gas station, which is about an hour's walk away. Before he heads off, he tells his spouse to stay in the car and lock all the doors and windows. The wife, bored and wanting to entertain herself, turns on the radio only to hear some shocking news. A notorious criminal has escaped from prison and was last seen on that very highway where the car is sitting. The reporter on the news gives a very detailed description of the escapee. The wife gets so scared that she quickly turns off the radio. She double-checks all the locks, but when she looks up, she sees the escapee just a few feet away from the car. When the man returns, he finds the car still all locked up, but his wife is nowhere to be seen. How is it possible? The answer is simple. The couple had been driving a convertible with the top down, and the woman wasn't, dare we say, terribly bright. You're wandering in a different forest and you come across a picnic. They're all witches. You try to hide before they notice you, but uh-oh. What do they want? Actually, they're pretty chill. They just need a little help. There are 8 of them, and one of them celebrating her 999th birthday. They've got a birthday cake, but there's a problem. And no, it's not that there's too many candles and too little cake. Their magic knife can only make 3 cuts, and they can't figure out how to cut the cake into 8 pieces. Can you figure it out? First, cut the cake in half. Then make another cut so there are 4 equal pieces. Now cut the cake sideways through the middle so it has 2 layers. Now everybody gets a piece. Helena finally got herself a new guitar. She wanted to play it right away, but she had school. She locked it in her room and left. When she got home that evening, the guitar was gone. Her family was kind of fun. They were always pulling pranks on each other. She asked everyone about her guitar. Here's what they said. Her mom said she hadn't even seen the guitar. Her dad said he saw it when he walked past her room, but then he didn't go in because he had a lot of work to do. Her brother said he was at home, but spent the whole day downstairs. Helena solved the mystery instantly. Can you figure it out? Her dad's lying. He said he saw the guitar while walking past her room, but that would be impossible. She locked the door on her way out. Mrs. Miller left the house and put a $100 bill in the dining room for her son. But the son said he never saw the money. There were 3 other people in the house that morning: Stephen, the gardener, Bill, the cook, and Molly, the housemaid. Steve said he saw the money, but he's an honest man. He'd never take it. Bill said he spent the morning in the kitchen and didn't see the money at all. Molly said she had to open the kitchen window but didn't want the bill to fly away. So she put it in this book between pages 35 and 36. Can you tell who's lying? Molly is. She couldn't have put the money between pages 35 and 36. They're 2 sides of the same page. Kevin's a single father of 4. He was working late one evening and got a call from a neighbor. The neighbor just saw one of his daughters walking around with her friends in a totally different neighborhood. It was dark, so the neighbor couldn't tell which daughter it was. When Kevin came back home, he asked his daughters which one of them was out after dark. Lily said she was reading all evening. Madison said she was playing Uno. Riley said she was in the backyard in the pool. Ava said she was talking to a friend in her room. Kevin immediately knew who was lying. Do you? It was Madison. She couldn't have been playing Uno by herself. She's hiding something. Josh was walking in a forest at night and came across an old castle. He was curious, so he found a way in and started walking down a corridor. Pretty soon, he met 3 people. They said they were 2 werewolves and a vampire. They wanted to keep Josh in there forever, but in the end decided to give him one chance to get away. He had to guess who the vampire was. He was allowed to ask the same question to each of them as long as it wasn't, "Are you a vampire?" Josh asked, "What's your eye color?" Why did he ask it, and how would that even help him? Vampires don't have a reflection in the mirror and don't show up in photos. The vampire probably wouldn't know what color eyes it had. Bonus time! Can you think of any other question that Josh could have asked those three guys? How well do you know your vampires and werewolves? Lost in an underwater cave. Sarah just got her certificate as a cave diver. She decided to spend her afternoon exploring some dangerous underwater ocean caves. While turning left and right, she got lost. She didn't have enough time to look for her way back and continued swimming further. That was when she came across 3 openings. Through the first, there were 45 hungry piranhas. Through the second, a great white shark. And through the last one, a giant box jellyfish. Which is the safest path? The first one. Piranhas are freshwater fish. They can't survive in salt water. The van. Susan was outside watering her plants when she noticed 3 people dressed in black clothing carrying electronic devices from her neighbor's home. She asked them what they were doing, and they said they were from a moving company. Immediately, Susan called the police. Why? There were no license plates on the van, and movers don't only carry electronic equipment, but all sorts of stuff. The prison escape. One morning, Detective Smith was called into a maximum security prison to discover how 3 men had managed to escape from their cells. The prisoners could neither see nor talk to each other, but they arranged their escape together. They went to the shower room at breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and only one person was allowed in at different periods. How did they manage to communicate and escape? They wrote messages to each other on the bathroom mirrors, used steam to read them, and planned their escape together. The villa disappearance. It was a cold, rainy weekend. Michael, Susie, Amara, and Luke were spending Saturday and Sunday together playing board games. On Saturday morning, when they woke up, Amara was missing. They looked everywhere for her but couldn't find her. That was when Luke called the police. Detectives examined the room and asked everybody what they were doing at 4 a.m. Luke said he couldn't sleep, so he went downstairs to the gaming room to play some online games. Michael said he couldn't sleep either, so he went outside to look at the stars. Susie said she followed Michael outside to get some fresh air. That was when the detectives figured out who was lying. Michael and Susie. It was a rainy weekend, remember? The cursed photo. Alan was on his final stretch to becoming a detective. He passed a bunch of assessments until he reached the last one. This was where his attention to detail skills would be tested. The chief of police handed Alan a photo. He told him, "This is Michael. He's having a birthday party. But something in this photo is very eerie." Alan spotted it in 2 seconds. Can you? There's a hand inside the blue balloon. Well, how did it get there? So, you're on a desert island and you're starving. You find a bush filled with berries. You eat a few, but start to feel sick. A local, "Hey, I thought this was uninhabited." They tell you that eating watermelons and grapes will get rid of the poison, but apples and carrots will make things worse. In front of you there are tomatoes, cabbages, oranges. Which one do you eat? Tomatoes! Like watermelons and grapes, they also grow on vines, unlike the rest. You're lost in the desert with just one bottle of water, but you don't know where the nearest water source is. What do? Cover yourself with your backpack to avoid sweating? Walk as quickly as you can to find water? Find shade and rest. best option is the last one. When it gets dark, you can walk further and find help. While sightseeing in a town, a volcano erupts nearby. There's no lava coming out, just thick black smoke. You see 3 potential routes to safety. Which one do you take? A tall lighthouse is a few feet away, a basement, a car in front of you. Go to the basement and close the door behind you. Lava smoke travels fast, and it can reach the tallest point of the lighthouse. It's 3 p.m., and while walking in the middle of a desert, you come across a tall tower with a crazy scientist living there. He tells you that if you want to make it out alive, you must calculate the height of his tower. What do you use? Fallen tree branches? Your shadow? Your watch? Your shadow. Since you know how tall you are, you can calculate how many times your shadow fits into the tower shadow. You're at a water park, and you've been taken captive by a supervillain. He takes you to the highest point of the park and shows you 3 slides: an orange one, a green one, and a yellow one. One leads to a pool filled with acid, one to a tropical paradise, and the other to a volcano filled with lava. The supervillain tells you, in a parallel world, the purple slide leads to freedom. Which one do you choose? The yellow slide. Yellow is the opposite of purple. You're on a trip into the wild. A huge angry elephant has spotted you, and it's running towards you. What do you do? Run down a steep slope leading to a river. Climb up a tall tree right next to you. Run straight towards some other animals, hoping it'll lose sight of you. Run down the steep slope. Elephants avoid areas with high elevation to stop themselves being injured. During a camping trip, you realize you have no water. But you're very thirsty. There are 3 ways to get water. Which one is the least dangerous? Harvest some from a cactus. Drink the water from a stagnant lake. Take some water from a flowing river. Cactus water isn't the safest, and a stagnant lake is filled with bacteria and parasites. The least dangerous option is the flowing river. You've been stuck in the wild for days, and you have no idea which way leads to civilization. Which sign do you follow? A plane passing overhead? A flowing river? A group of animals? Your best bet is the river. Since the beginning of time, people have built villages along riverbanks. A mysterious biologist invites you to his home for dinner. He takes you down to the basement and puts 3 plates of weird items on the table. One has wild white mushrooms with white gills. The second is filled with castor beans. The third has some fish brains. Which one is safe to eat? The plate of fish brains is the only dish that isn't poisonous. But the dinner isn't over yet. You're taken into a room with 3 large tanks filled with salt water. You must stay in one of them for 5 minutes. The biologist promises to set you free if you make it out alive. The first contains 6 great white sharks. The second has 70 piranhas. The last one is filled with dangerous box jellyfish. Which could you survive in? In the second tank, piranhas are freshwater fish. They can't survive in salt water. You're leading an expedition to the North Pole. As you're sailing there, a huge chunk of ice falls into the water, causing a large wave to come your way. What do you tell your crew to do? Stop the ship and stay until the wave passes? Start moving in the opposite direction. Keep going and lean into the wave as it hits. Leaning into the wave is the only way to get some balance. Anything else will cause your ship to capsize. A fishing trip. David was crazy about mountain climbing. It was his biggest passion in life. But his wife Jessica hated his hobby. She thought it was too dangerous. Once, David's friend Oliver invited him on an exciting rock climbing trip. David knew his wife would be against this idea, so he told her he would go fishing to the nearest lake for a couple of days. Jessica agreed, but asked her husband to send a photo of him fishing. Once David arrived at the foot of the mountain, he photoshopped a fishing photo and sent it to his wife. As soon as she saw it, she immediately realized it was a fake. How come? Jessica knew it was snowing outside. It means there had to be snow at the nearest lake, too. An epic rainstorm. Someone got into Matthew's house during a severe rainstorm and took a lot of expensive stuff. The man called the police. They came over and started to interview the neighbors. Nicole said she lived alone and worked from home. She was inside the whole day. Jerry explained he was a chef in an Italian restaurant. He came back from work only a half an hour ago. Sophia told the police officers she hadn't left home because she was ill. Who was the intruder? It was Nicole. She claimed she had been inside the entire day, but there was a wet umbrella in the corner. A hitchhiker. Chris was a truck driver. One Friday afternoon, he left Orangetown and was driving along the highway when he saw a man lying on the side of the road. Chris stopped and ran toward the man. After some time, he managed to bring the man around. His story was rather dramatic. He was a hitchhiker who tried to get to Orangetown, but halfway there, he had an argument with the driver who had picked him up and was thrown out of the car. The hitchhiker hit his head and lost consciousness. Now he was begging Chris to give him a lift to the town. Chris didn't believe the man's story and refused to help him. Why? The hitchhiker was lying on the right side of the road, but if he was going to Orangetown, he would have been on the left side. A missing dog. Jason agreed to look after his friend's dog while the guy was away. He fell in love with a cute little Pomeranian. But Jason's wife and kids didn't like the pooch. One evening, the man came back from work and discovered the dog was missing. Jason called the police. When they arrived, they started by questioning Karen, Jason's wife. The woman said she had been sleeping all day. Then the police officer asked, "And what were the children doing?" "They were playing in the yard. Then I told them to go inside and do their homework." Well. And now tell me please, why did you kick out the dog?" How did the police officer figure out it was Karen? Well, the woman claimed she had been sleeping the whole day. But then, how could she tell the kids to go inside? A forest accident. Stephen called the police to report his valuables were missing. When the police arrived, the man told him his story. "I went on a camping trip alone. I had just got there and set up my tent when it started to rain heavily. I hurried to find some dry firewood. I left my bag with my wallet and all the documents inside the tent. When I came back, everything was gone." The police officers didn't believe Stephen and fined him for making a false call. How did they understand the man had lied? Stephen said he had set up the tent before it started to rain. But then, why was it wet inside the tent? Ashley and Mary were walking in the forest when they spotted some barriers. Each picked a different plant to feed on, but one of them didn't make a smart decision. Guess who? It's Ashley. There's an unconscious bird next to the plant, which indicates it's poisonous. The endangered plant seeds can be eaten. Lucy and Jack are both doing work on two different buildings. Lucy is sitting outside on the second floor, trying to clean the window. Jack is climbing down an apartment complex. Which of the two is less clever? Jack. Even if he's wearing a helmet, the height difference is enough to injure him. Joanna and Sissy are spending the day at home. Joanna is doing her spring cleaning, while Sissy is trying to feed her son. Which of the two should rethink their actions? Sissy. There's no danger if the vacuum cleaner isn't plugged in. But it isn't a good idea to feed babies chunks of chicken with a knife and a fork. Michael is ready to break into a house that has a dog. Karen is putting the jacket on her daughter in the middle of the street. Who is in more danger? Karen and her daughter. They're kneeling and don't see the car approaching, while Michael can spot if there's a dog in the yard or not. Jason went to the water park with his son. Jake is a firefighter and was called to put out a fire. Now Jason is on the phone while a boy behind him struggles to stay on the surface of the pool. Jake is putting out a fire on a tree. Which of the two isn't bright? Jason. He's on the phone and can't hear the boy behind him. Jake is putting out the fire on the tree to prevent it from spreading to the forest. Ruth is spending the evening with her grandson, and Adam went camping. Ruth spotted a cockroach and began spreading pesticides everywhere. Adam sprayed deodorant all over him next to a fire. Who is less intelligent? It's Ruth. Even though Jason sprayed something in a pressurized can next to a fire, he's still in an open space. But Ruth is with a baby in an enclosed house filled with harsh chemicals. Simon and Kyle are at the train station. Simon is sliding backward down the stair railings while taking selfies. Kyle is sitting on the platform with his legs extending over the train track. Which of the two isn't sharp-witted? Kyle. Simon can see behind him with his phone, and even if he falls, he'll be safe. But Kyle is distracted on his phone and can't see the train coming. If he falls in the tracks, there won't be enough time for him to get out. Dan and Josh are spending their Saturday evening at home. Dan went to cut some wood with a shovel, while Josh started a fire in the bathroom. One of them is making a huge mistake. Tell me who. It's Josh. An indoor fire on carpet is not a good idea. Cutting wood with a shovel may be impossible, but it's safe. Mary and Linda took their babies for a walk. Mary took her son to the beach, while Linda took her daughter to the park where it started to rain. They both have umbrellas, but which mom isn't bright? It's Mary. Without protection, her son will get a painful sunburn. Susan and April are spending their weekends with their daughters. Susan took her daughter to the beach. A huge tornado is approaching, and she's taking selfies. April put her baby in a bathtub, and she's taking selfies without looking at her baby. Which mother isn't smart? Susan. Her daughter is exposed to dangerous weather in the ocean, while April can reach and grab her daughter in case something happens. Olivia and Barbara are pregnant, and they want to have some fun before giving birth. Olivia went to have an acupuncture session, while Barbara went water skiing. Who should rethink their actions? Barbara. Acupuncture is safe during pregnancy, while water skiing is dangerous. Mary and Richard are going on a riding trip, while their friend Charlie is riding alone. One of the two motorcyclists is making a huge mistake. Can you see who? It's Richard. It's more dangerous to ride with your eyes closed than without a helmet. Valerie and Nicole must cut down some tree branches. They both climbed on the same branch and started sawing the wood. One of them isn't making an intelligent decision. Who? It's Valerie. She's cutting the part of the branch they're sitting on, while Nicole is sawing the outside branch. You've crossed the safe bridge. It's nighttime, but the bright full moon illuminates the path for you. You see a huge castle ahead. You're sure ghosts live there, but you don't care. It's better to face ghosts than stay outside with all these other creatures. You enter the castle and find yourself at a ball. 8 people with masks are dancing. You realize this is a test of your attentiveness. How many of these people are ghosts? 7 seconds until you're spotted. That lady is dancing, but her feet aren't touching the floor. She's floating. Everyone is wearing modern dresses and costumes, but that couple over there is dressed as if they're from the Victorian era. Ghosts can't change clothes, right? You've spotted 3 ghosts, and you decide not to interfere in their dance. Gotta keep moving on. You come to another room. You see a huge table with a buffet of food. Fried chicken, french fries, pizza, vegetables, fruit, soda, mouth-watering desserts, and pastries. 8 people are sitting at the table. You've worked up quite an appetite by now and consider having a bite. But intuition tells you something is wrong here. You realize these are all vampires. But how did you know? You better decide in 5 seconds. Why is all the food on the table untouched? Does anyone in this room really want to eat? Oh, they definitely want to dine, but not on ordinary food. They want your blood. Hurry, run! You book it out of there, but the vampires pursue you. To be saved, you need to choose one of 3 rooms along the way. There's a huge fire in the first room. A pit with sharp spears at the bottom awaits you in the second. The third room is filled with poisonous gas. Which one will you choose? Hurry, they'll be here in 5 seconds. The correct answer is the room with the gas. If you breathe in the poisonous stuff, the vampires won't drink your toxic blood. But how will you save yourself? Oh, that's right. Earlier, you found an antidote. You drink it, fully recover, and leave the mansion. You go through the jungle and finally find the shore. Perfect! You've reached your goal. That's when your joy is cut short by the sight of 3 people flailing out in the water. Help! We can't swim! You're about to dive into the water to save them, but your intuition tells you something's fishy here. 2 of them are sea monsters trying to lure you into a trap. But which ones? You have only 5 seconds to save the real person. One of them has webbed fingers, and that one's gills are visible. But that guy over there still needs your help, so you save him and head back to the shore. You make a fire to keep warm. That's when a bright beam of light shines on you from the sky. It's the helicopter, here to pick you up after the test. Hooray! It throws a rope ladder down. You start to approach it, but then you realize something's not right. Do you climb up Or do you trust your instincts? You better decide in 5 seconds. Helicopter. A lifeboat was supposed to arrive for you, remember? You don't board the helicopter, but unfortunately, your new friend did. The chopper quickly darts away into the stars. Yes, it was a UFO. You open your eyes and find yourself handcuffed in a small, dark room. Your sister is not with you, although you clearly remember walking outside together in the rain. Well, it seems you were kidnapped and now have to get out. You have to solve some riddles to escape, and each time you'll have 10 seconds to think. Are you ready? First, how about getting rid of these handcuffs? You turn around and see 3 buttons on the wall. A red one, a yellow one, and a green one. One of them will set you free. But if you choose the wrong button, sirens will sound. But, lucky you, there's a note on the wall saying TDUNORTEB. Decide which button you should press. Since you put the letters in the right order, you'll get the red button. Since only one button releases you and the other 2 are traps, the sign indicates the one that will set you free. You press the red button and the handcuffs fall off. Whew! The first step is complete, but there's more to go. You'll have to find your sister, release her, and then find a way out. You search for the exit, but there are 3 doors, so you look through the peepholes to decide which route to take. Behind one door, many little robots are poised to attack. Behind the second door, there's a room on fire. And behind the last one, you find a room completely filled with water. Which one should you pick to stay safe? The first one. Although there are robots, they're still super small and probably can't cause you much harm. Well, at least definitely less than the fire or water. So you take a deep breath and with your heart skipping a beat, you enter the first room. The robots attack you, but the first one has a giant red button you step on and it turns them off. The second one you kick really hard and it smashes, hitting the wall. Half a minute later, you're already outside the room, safe and sound, all body parts intact. Success! But what if the robot sent a signal to the people who kidnapped you? You have to hurry. You move forward, crossing the corridor, and here it is again. 3 doors, and you have to decide which one to pick. Think carefully for 10 seconds. It can save you a ton of time if you go the right way from the very beginning. So, which way should you go? The third door. There's a red finger stains on the doorway. Your sister must have been trying hard to break out. You take that door and find yourself in a narrow hallway. You can see the stains here and make absolutely sure you're going in the right direction. You run for about 20 minutes, continually taking turns. You start feeling a little dizzy, but still can't see an end to this hallway. Another 5 minutes pass. You take another turn and suddenly crash into a metallic door. You try to open it, but it's locked. On a little screen, a red sign appears, asking for a password. Below, there's even a password hint: 12345678. Can you crack the code? There are 17 spaces. After reading the number out loud slowly, you get it. You type number 2, then number 4 3 times, 5 6s, and 7 8s. The light changes to green, and the door is unlocked. You're in a long and gloomy metal corridor. You want to run, but you force yourself to stay quiet. You're getting close, and you're trying to be as careful and silent as possible. But when you suddenly face a huge and gloomy man standing in front of the next door, your heart drops. You want to run away, but you freeze just right where you are. He's definitely noticed you. You stand speechless, expecting him to grab and handcuff you or knock you unconscious. But instead, he asks, "Where are you going?" You don't know why, but you tell the truth. "I want to find my sister. She's 17, blonde." "Ah, I've seen her," the man says. "She's in this room. They always ignore me and never want to solve my riddles. If you solve one of my riddles, I'll let you go." You feel such a relief that you can only nod in response. What comes once in a minute, twice in a moment, but never in 1,000 years? A very poetic riddle, but pretty straightforward. It's the letter M. The man smiles and moves to the side, letting you go. You run into the room. Finally, there's your sister. She has her arms and legs tied, and her mouth is sealed. But then, you look around and see two more of your sisters looking precisely the same. It's another trap. You have to decide which sister is the real one, and if you touch the wrong person, the sirens will sound. Can you choose the right sister? Before your sister was kidnapped, you were outside in the rain together. Your sister is the one with the smeared mascara. You reach the girl right in front of you, and the look of relief on her face immediately proves you made the right choice. You untie her hands and legs, unseal her mouth, and she gives you a hug. You grab her hand and you leave the room together. Michael was going home from the gym when everything went black. When he regained consciousness, he found out he was in a locked room. Next to the door, there was a computer with a keyboard. On the screen, there was a riddle. Michael had to write the correct answer and the door would open. The riddle went like this. It makes two people out of one. What is it? Michael typed the needed word and the door opened. He was free to go. What was the answer? It's a mirror. Oh, I was guessing a buzzsaw, but this one is better, and not as messy. Two best friends, Emily and Luna, came to a popular and expensive hair salon. At first, the administrator told the girls they had just one available hairstylist. But after making a phone call, she happily announced she had found another hairdresser. Emily and Luna could have their hair done at the same time. But in the process, it dawned on the girls that one of the hairstylists was fake. Which one? Both hairstylists are using regular scissors, but instead of hairspray, the one on the left is holding a can of bug spray. Yeah, that's a big clue right there. A man on a bike grabbed Sarah's bag with all her documents, money, and smartphone and sped off. The only way the girl can get her bag back is by taking someone's car and driving after the criminal. There are 3 vehicles parked nearby. Which one can Sarah break into and drive off? Borrow. A man is sitting in the blue car. That's no good. If she decides to take the red car, CCTV will spot her. Her only option is the brown vehicle. Oh, and Sarah, don't forget to return the wheels when you get your bag back, otherwise you'll be Grand Theft Sarah. Mary and her younger brother Alex were mushroom hunting in the forest. Wait, mushroom hunting? What do? Sneak up on them so they don't escape? Anyway, they started a quarrel. Alex got angry and ran away. After several minutes, Mary rushed after him. She was still fuming, but also worried. Soon, the girl reached a small river. A man was sitting on the shore. Did you see a teenager here?" Mary asked. "Yep, he's just taken a boat and made it to the other side." But Mary didn't believe the man. Why? The boat is indeed on the other side, but the paddles are lying next to the man. How could the boy cross the river without them? So, where's Alex? Kidnapped by the escape mushrooms? We may never know.